Hey guys, today I want to look back at the Apple iPod. I want to look at how Apple introduced it, how meaningful it was to Apple, and why this was maybe the most game-changing offer ever created in all of business. And I want to take a look back. So why do this? I want to look back at a bunch of offers that were successful. This one was so long ago that it kind of makes sense and it's obvious to us now. But the more we can understand why offers work, how they work, the more we can define the offers for our own businesses and make them successful, make them connect with more people, and help them help us grow better businesses. So let's take it back all the way to 2001, October 23rd, 2001. Apple releases the iPod, revolutionary product, and they brilliantly say 1,000 songs in your pocket. One of the things I love about Apple is their ability to take something that's super complex and distill it into just a few words. 1,000 songs in your pocket. And at the time, music was becoming more available. It was on the internet. We had access to Napster. The companies were trying to crack down on downloading, but downloading was going everywhere. You could burn CDs. You could play them in your Discman. We had the Discman with the electronic shock protection so that if you got bumped, it didn't skip while you're playing it, or you had to carry around this big binder of all your music. But people love their music. They love having access to it. And so I want to take the iPod and break it down in this formula. This is from Hormozy. I'm not sure if he came up with it. He maybe did. I've seen it elsewhere too. But the fundamentals of how you create an offer and how you create value for people allows you to charge money for it. So let's go ahead and get into it. So Apple's iPod, the outcome that they were creating for their customer was essentially all of your music with you all the time. Don't carry around binders, no skipping. It's all just in your pocket. It was an unbelievable offer at the time. And there was other people out there trying to do it with MP3 players, with Discmans, with mini discs. There was a bunch of people trying to go after that outcome. But Apple really sealed it in, and they did it in a way that was unique to them. And so you believed when you saw the iPod and you heard people talk about it and you saw their white headphones, it was like you believed if you had that, you were going to have access to this outcome, which was all of your music with you all the time. And for most people or most companies, they probably would have stopped there and just had the iPod, the headphones, ability to put 1,000 songs on it. And they probably could have. But, Steve Jobs was smart, obviously, and he understood this. And there was other problems associated with getting music. So, for example, if you're going to illegally download music, you might have to stay up all night, let your computer run overnight, get a bunch of songs. Maybe one of them would be correct. Or you would have to rip the CD. You'd have to rip the old CD, put it on a new CD. There was all these problems. It took a lot of time to figure out. And it was a high amount of effort to do that. And so one thing that Apple did that, was actually revolutionary, but kind of lives behind the scenes, was they introduced iTunes at the exact same time they introduced the iPod. And so your ability to go online, search for music, and download it for $1 per song was so much better, so much more convenient, so much faster than all the other options combined that people just started downloading their music and paying for it. So that really was the revolutionary aspect of the iPod offer, was all of these factors, not just the iPod. It was the iPod with iTunes that made it unbelievably successful. And they charged $399 for the first iPod. And over time, obviously made it better, added features. There was more and more iPods. And the total sales of iPod went from 2002 all the way to 2006, where it kind of peaked. As a percent of revenue, it peaked at about 40% of Apple's revenue in 2006, but they sold peak iPods in 2008, 2009. And it really unlocked. The reason for me that this is the biggest game changer of all offers is because Apple was pretty much on the brink. They had nothing. They had the iMac, which was that big, colorful desktop computer that you could lug around with a handle on the top of it. And that was it. And then they introduced this and it went crazy. So let's just take a look at Apple's revenue in 2009. So this was peak iPod. This is as a percentage of their overall revenue. And you can see in 2009, they had iPhone out, they had iPod, They had portables, which I'm thinking is laptops, and then they had desktops. And that was pretty much 75% of the revenue. And then they had music and some other things. Fast forward to today, 2023, it's actually pretty similar if you think about it. They have iPad, they have Mac, which is, smaller, but then they have iPhone. So like the percentage of this is actually not that much different, but the iPod allowed Apple to expand into the space of computers, iPads, which is kind of like a tablet computer, iPhone, and just do it at such a scale that they weren't able to do it before previously. And so I just think that's unbelievable. You can look at the stock price. So adjusted for splits, if you had bought stock in 2001, you would be paying equivalent 28 cents per share to what it is now. And the stock is priced at $183, give or take, depending on when you watch this. That's a 653x return on your money. So if you just took the money from on day one of Apple buying, or instead of buying an iPod and you invested it in Apple, one iPod is the equivalent of $260,000 in today's money. So man, don't you wish you bought 4 of those? Apple's market cap in 2002, so this was just after they launched the iPod, their market cap was at $5.6 billion. And today they're one of the biggest companies in the world at $2.89 trillion, which is just an unbelievable 20 plus year run of business. And it's just, I can't believe, you go back and you think about what's happened in 20 years and how the iPod started it all. I think it's just amazing. And so the question for us is, what can we learn from this? And I think Apple does it better than anybody. Understand who you're helping. Relentlessly pursue the entire experience that you're creating. So it's not just about the outcome that the person's getting. It's how likely do they believe they're going to get that outcome? How long does it take them to get that outcome? And what's the effort and sacrifice that it takes them to get that outcome? And if you can reduce the time and effort that it takes to get the outcome, that's really what Apple's amazing. Make this easy for people and then also help them get the outcome. Exponential value, game-changing offer. What was the first iPod you had? I don't think I got one until like 2004. Yeah, let me know in the comments. Thanks.